on, everybody? Welcome back. We're going to be talking about this little bad boy right here today, which is the Palmetto State AKV9 9mm. If you have not been paying attention to the market, AK stuff is being extremely difficult to get your hands on recently with everything that has been going on. Now, for my AK lovers out there, it has been said that the AK design is so good that even when built poorly, it will still just run and run. I have not always been a fan of AKs, although I've owned them and I've played with them over the years, ever since I was in the military and forward to today when I bought myself a little Z-Pap that my buddy was getting rid of. But is this gonna be the one that is gonna change my mind finally to like the AK setup? Which leads me to the question, what is your experience with the AK platform and how do you feel about it? Now, don't get into the argument between AR and AK because that's just never ending. I'm just curious to know, do you like the AK? Now, there are some very cool differences between the PSA AKV9 and some of these standard or almost every other AK you're gonna know, some of which has to do with the magazines and the last round bolt lock. Yes, I said that, last round bolt lock on an AK variant. And of course, for my AK fans out there, you know it's all about the trunnion a lot of times. This does have the forged internals that you are gonna be looking for. All of that we're gonna get into and talk about here in just a second. If this is your first time here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn those bell notification icons on, and if at any point you feel that I have deserved it or you're just into the AK thing, give this video a like. If you guys are interested in supporting the channel in any way, you can check out Shall Not Comply for that sweet 2A swag where they have the softest shirts in the game right now. Or you can use any of the links down below, or of course you can check out the Patreon stuff as well. We're gonna go ahead and get into the guts on this bad boy and talk about especially the trigger and do some trigger pulls so you guys get a really good idea of what they did to make this thing what it is. All right, we're gonna go ahead and jump into the Palmetto State AKV9. So this is a 9mm going from pistol grip to the end that goes pew here. We'll just talk about this a little bit and then we'll get into the internals and the heart of this stuff because there is good things going on here. So we have our SBA3 brace right here with our M4 adapter for that pistol tube right there, even though there's no guts in there because this is a different operating system, the AK, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with. Going forward from there, we have a 1mm stamped receiver group right here. And one of the things that AK people will always tell you to look at is check out where all the rivets are and ensure that they are appropriately pressed in and that the receiver is not deformed or crushed or anything like that. I will say overall, just to get this out of the way, the quality of this is very, very nice. It is far better than I have seen out of some other AKs out there, especially like the Romanian ones. So coming forward from there, Magpul furniture, that's all we're gonna say about that. Pretty basic stuff. Most of you have probably seen that before. Dust cover is actually very nice. It is reinforced and it does give you a little bit more lip though, so you don't have an over travel for that safety right there, which is actually quite nice. It's very smooth, especially compared to some other AKs out there on the market. So with that dust cover though, it is slightly different. You will see a set screw right there, and then it is on this hinge, which is also the rear sight right there. So I feel comfortable leaving a red dot optic on there. It is plenty sturdy. It's not like the old kind of just flimsy AK style dust cover where you take it off and you have to have your actual optics mount here over on the side. So going forward from that, we've got our basic charging handle right there that you guys know AKs look like. Takedown button for your gas tube. You have a standard front sight. We have a tanker 2-port muzzle brake up there, which is a standard detent removal design right there. You push that detent in and it spins right off. Go ahead and flip this around because there's something pretty cool on this side right here. That is going to be this little button right there, which is not normal for most AKs out there. That is a last round bolt lock, which is pretty awesome. That's been something the AKs have really never had. So that's pretty nice. If you look here, and what we are going to have here is a forged a forged setup here for your actual bolt group. It is changed a little bit to give a little bit more reliability when extracting ammunition. That's why you get a little notch cut right there. Not like a true piston design. So this is like a, straight blowback system. So this is actually mostly a counterweight to give the appropriate weight for this setup to run reliably. But forged, which is definitely nice and definitely desired when it comes to the AK stuff. Internally, trigger group is standard AK. We will do some pull tests on that. It actually feels pretty good. We do have a forged front trunnion in here. It does not say if the rear trunnion is forged, but I don't know. I can't tell without having this thing apart off. So you've got a nice good look at what is going on here. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this back together off camera, and then we will talk a little bit more about everything else and do some trigger pulls. All right, so we got this bad boy back together now. So as far as the rest of the barrel goes, it's a 1 in 10 twist rate, 9x19. You guys know that stuff. And we do have a one magazine that we're gonna get with this. Or maybe it came with two. Might have come with two. I bought this used, so it is their UN35 or U935 magazine. So compatible with the CZ Scorpion, which is pretty cool. Well, let's talk about this trigger. So feels pretty good for an AK trigger, and like I said, this accepts standard AK parts groups in here, so that was nice that they kept that pattern. So we'll go ahead and make sure she's clear. And I'm doing this left-handed, and we're gonna see we've got some take up, pretty typical for the AK. There is no real defined wall, and then it just kind of breaks on you like that. So again, you can see I'll go as slow as I can, no wall, but right about here, it's gonna break. It's actually very, very smooth. There's, I wanna say right at 1,000 rounds based on what I shot and what he had shot through this thing. So let's go ahead and do some pull tests, because I wanna say this thing is pulling right at about 5 pounds, actually maybe a little bit less. Now I normally pull low on the trigger because that's where you get your best leverage, but I'm gonna pull right here in the center, give you guys a really good idea of what we are at. So that broke at just under 4 pounds. That is pretty nice coming out of something like this. We'll do 3 total tests here unless we get something really weird going on, just to give you guys a solid idea. Let's get back on the center. Okay. Turn it around for you. About 4 pounds and 2 ounces on that one, so pretty solid. And since the way that trigger is sloped, it's kind of difficult to get exactly in the same place. So I am doing my best to eyeball it for you guys. Okay, so right there, just about 3 pounds and 14 ounces. So that is pretty solid. Now let's talk about a couple things that Palmetto has updated. So they did update the safety override. It's a little bit more pushed out on the top. Am I happy that I spent my hard-earned money on the AKV9? As you can see from the up close, that is a lot of good stuff they put into this AKV here. So I've not always been a huge fan of the AK stuff. A lot of you guys here will know that. It's just not my thing. There were some holdbacks when it came to the AK as compared to, say, the AR. Now, when I take this thing out to the range and get working with it, I almost think in my head, you crazy bastards, you did it. Let's check out some of that range footage and see just how this thing performs. I have to say this thing is just a ton of fun out there. The first couple of rounds I had, my buddy was out there with me, and this is what I had to say. Holy shit, dude. You gotta shoot this. We've reached the part of the video where I really start breaking down what I like and what I don't like. So there are several different variants of the AKV where you can get the Magpul furniture, you can get wooden furniture, you can get all kinds of different stuff. Different pistol braces, they have rifle variants, you get whatever you want. Of course, we get the last round bolt lock, which is absolutely awesome. Gives you that somewhat audible and of course a physical feeling so you know that you have run dry. We also get that bolt release. So that is definitely very cool to have that bolt release on there because it can speed you up. They've put all the stuff in here that most AR guys didn't like about the original AK, and they've made it a much more speed friendly and I guess runnable platform for those of us that are used to the AR. As far as everything else goes, it's got the forged parts where it needs them, the bolt, the trunnion. The receiver is very well done. The dust cover is awesome. Putting a red dot on there gives you the stability you need to keep that dot here instead of running it way forward on the gas block, which can cause its own issues. And of course, it does take the regular AK trigger group and all those parts. Now, searching for a negative on this thing, quite honestly, is tough. This thing really is just almost all positive. So being that I had no malfunctions on it, really going over this thing and kind of feeling it out, there was two very minute things that I came up with. One, the texture on the back of the mag release is vertical. It goes up and down. It should go left and right to give you that grip you want when you're trying to remove that. That is such a minute thing that I almost feel stupid for bringing it up. Also, the last round, or see the bolt release right here, even though they have it, absolutely amazing. You guys did it over there and I appreciate that. If it were a little bit bigger, that would be a huge help. Look at the size of that compared to the size of my finger. Now you can get over that stuff with training. And like I said, these are such minute negatives that I almost feel dumb for bringing it up. Well, now we are left to talk about price for this bad boy right here. Now, originally Palmetto was selling these versions, I want to say for like $8.99 or something like that. I have not seen them for that since that. They've been out of stock almost every time I have looked. I bought this one used. I got very lucky. This person did not rake me over the coals on it. I have seen them out there for anywhere from $1,000 to over $2,000 at this point, depending on where you look for them. So depending on what you can get these for or how bad do you want one, is it worth your money? And I'm gonna have to say, as a person that's not a huge AK fan, what they have done here, if you can find one, grab it and run as long as you pay for it. They have fixed everything that I really just didn't like about the AK setup. I've got the good stuff I want. The mag exchanges are much quicker. The last round bolt lock, the bolt release. You've now turned this thing into effectively a much faster system to run, and it is just a ton of fun out there. The thing absolutely performs out there, ran all the ammo I wanted, and it just chewed through it. It was pretty soft out there. The AKs do feel quite a bit different. If you don't know, when you're out there with an AK, it kind of wants to twist a little bit on you. It has to do with the reciprocating mass of the bolt. I just have to say, this thing was absolutely fun out there, and it was worth every single penny. Now, some people may agree with that, and some people may disagree with that. My ultra AK fans out there, you're probably going to love this thing. My diehard AR people, you might be tempted, but I'm gonna warn you, once you go down the path of the AKV9, it might just bite you. Well, that's the video, and that is what I have for you today. I hope you liked learning about the AKV9. Definitely one of the best purchases I've made so far in 2021. And this thing is gonna be out to the range a lot more, especially since it shoots 9, which is a little bit more available than some of the rifle stuff. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. I've gotten another batch of messages saying people weren't getting notifications or they were unsubscribed, so double check that stuff for me. Of course, give the video a like, turn the bell notification icons on, and if you didn't like the video, try hitting the thumbs down 4 times this time and see what happens. If you guys want to support the channel, you can check out Shout Out Comply or Blackout Coffee or any of the other links down below. Or of course, check out the Patreon if you want to be super generous to the channel. And a huge thank you to my Patreons. You guys are absolutely amazing. I hope you all got your giveaway stuff at this point. Some pretty cool stuff went out to you guys, some triggers, some different knives, all that good stuff. You want to get in on that, the link will be down below. You guys get out there, have some fun on the range. Remember, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. I will see you guys on the next one.